Thank you, Senator Marshall, for your courtesy to Senator Padilla. It is now your floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Dr. Swagel. If there's one thing clear from this meeting, it's that my friends across the aisle have promised they will raise your taxes, that is their solution to everything, is to raise your taxes. Folks, we don't have a taxing problem in this government. We have a spending problem. The Trump tax cuts demonstrated that if you lower taxes, it grows the economy and increases the tax revenue. It's a rising tide, raising all boats. I think it's quite evident. No one can argue that. It's unarguable. But what's not arguable is that that these tax cuts indeed have worked in the past. Dr. Swagel, let me ask you, do you ever review your work in the past? You go back and look at the last 10 years and say, what percentage were we off on our scores?
We do. We go back for major legislation and analyze in terms of what we got right and what we got wrong.
For the last 10 years, what does your score sheet look like, in speaking in general?
So we compare ourselves to other major forecasters, and we do pretty well. There's some things that we've...
No, you don't do well. You just missed the deficit this year by $500 billion. That's not doing well. I mean, don't you think you're off 10, 20, 30, 40% on most of the big numbers?
Right. So from February to June, the deficit went up by 27%, mainly because of actions taken by the administration. And so the student loans, the FDIC, actions on Medicaid, that, right, we're providing you with the current law
So through executive fiat, they added, I guess it's about $1 trillion.
That's right, between student loans and the other pieces, there's several $100 billion of additional
Would you have
costs.
the ability to score if we did our job, if we followed the Budget Act of 1974 and all the additions where the president submitted a budget on time, if we did a meaningful bipartisan Senate budget resolution and we went back to regular order and the House did their job, if we did a real budget, would that have impact on how much money we spend, and is that something you could help generate a CBO score for?
I mean, we would certainly support the Congress in doing that. It's hard to say what the outcome would be. Of regular order would certainly be a change, but I can't tell you what the fiscal outcome
Certainly it
would
works
be.
in the private sector to do a meaningful budget and then use that as the blueprint and not allow an administration to tack on, like you just mentioned, almost $1 trillion of unsuspected spending through executive fiat, and which is unconstitutional the way they did it. As we mentioned before, the 2024 budget deficit is going to be $2 trillion. We're going to spend $2 trillion more than we take in this year. The administration added $2.1 trillion with the American Rescue Plan, another $800 billion with the Inflation Stimulation Act. People call it the Inflation Reduction Act. It's actually inflationary, as well as over another trillion unilaterally, as you mentioned, through executive actions. The student loans, $400 billion. They redefined the Thrifty Plan, another $300 billion. And then they did some voodoo with the ACA and another $300 billion as well. I want to talk about SNAP for a second. We're in the middle of trying to write a farm bill, and I'm concerned about the politics at play in scoring a piece of legislation that's extremely important to everybody. A farm bill, 85% of a farm bill is SNAP payments, nutritional programs. The largest part of the farm bill also has the highest fraud rate and the error rate. There's been an annual overpayment rate of 10%. Stopping the error rates, stopping the fraud, stopping the overpayments will result in nearly $100 billion in savings to the SNAP program over the next 10 years. So if we get rid of the fraud and abuse and errors, it would save $100 billion over 10 years. Do you believe that fixing the error rate in SNAP would be a cut to the program?
In some sense, it would make sure that the beneficiaries who are supposed to get the benefits are getting them and not other people.
Okay. The bipartisan farm bill that's passed out of the House Ag Committee has a provision in the nutrition title which preserves SNAP benefits and ensures that benefits can modestly increase with the cost of living. Now, my friends across the aisle in the center are calling these provisions the largest cut to SNAP in history. In your opinion, do you consider this a cut?
So, after we saw what the administration did with the changes to the Thrifty Food Plan, we then had to assume that in the future, there could be such large increases again. And I said before that was about $200 to $250 billion of additional costs. And so that gets built into the baseline. What the House has done is scale that back. And so there's a sense in which they're preventing a future administration from doing the kind of increase that was done.
But net, at the end of the day, we're going to be spending more money on SNAP in the future than we are today.
That's correct.
Yeah. Thank you.